Hi! Today I am doing a video that is 12 things that I learned in 12 months at the gym, plus a training recap on my final peak week that I did right before my 1-year gymversary because I'm really proud of it, and I'll insert some clips of all my heaviest compounds and talk about like that training week recap at the end, but we're gonna be nice for once and actually give you the helpful advice at first. So these are 12 things that I personally learned, but they are also, I wanted to cover kind of the most common questions I get, especially being like a queer person who is assigned female at birth, who goes to the gym now, who never went to the gym before, had a ton of gym anxiety, had a history of an active eating disorder and stuff like that, so I had a lot of reservations about getting into the gym. And also someone who has had the results that I've had. You know, I'm gonna insert lots of clips and stuff because I worked hard for this. So I do get lots of various questions. I will, at the end of the video, mention my body weight to give you a comparison of how heavy I'm lifting versus my body weight, but I will do like a little, like, my hands are up while I'm saying the number and talking about it, and then I'll bring them down to give you a warning, and that'll be at the end. So if you just want practical advice and not think about, like, body weight stuff, totally fine. Just skip it at the end. So, I got... because it's completely full, my little gym planner, that's just a regular daily planner I got from who knows where, I had to get a new one because the old one is completely full, and I jazzed this one up with lots of fun e-boy stickers because I'm a bastard. Yes, I'm so excited. New planner. And I actually already recorded my first workout in it, which was a deload workout, so it was really boring. It was like, I did 5 reps of a really light weight, etc. But I've got my list to reference here in my old planner, and it is truly completely full of my absolutely god-awful handwriting when I'm lifting. It's already bad, but I think at the end I'll like compare like my first workout to my like my final peak workout or something like that, and just like show you like even just on paper and writing what you can do in a year if you just show up, even if you aren't perfect. But yes, let's actually get into these 12 things. And hopefully I cover the majority of kind of any questions you have, but of course you can ask me things if you want to. So, the number one lesson that I learned, and hear me out because I'm gonna sound like a dick at first, but it also is coming from a place of empathy. Shut up and show up. Number one, shut up and show up. There are a couple of like nice little videos on YouTube about like what to do when you first go to the gym, and watching those things can help. And I would definitely look up some like common gym etiquette things. There are also tons of videos that'll give you advice on super basic etiquette so that you don't bother anyone accidentally, although it's really not that deep, honestly, if you make like a super basic mistake. And if you're the kind of person that is scared to show up at the gym because you're afraid you'll be in someone's way or upset someone, you're already clearly an empathetic person. I don't think you're gonna mess up that bad. Shut up and show up, and I don't say that to be like, pull yourself up by your bootstraps. No, I'm saying that because I want you to feel good, and I want you to enjoy going to the gym if that's something you're interested in doing. If not, then don't. Fuck it, whatever. But if you want to, you deserve it. You deserve to get to that point where you walk into the gym and it doesn't matter what's going on in your life and what's going on, what kind of energy the other people have. If there's a bunch of like loud teenage boys in there spotting each other bench pressing really heavy or something like that, it does not matter what is going on, but you just walk in and you know what you're doing, you know where you're going, and you don't care what other people are doing. The only way for you to get there is to shut up and show up, and show up embarrassed, show up scared, show up awkward, show up doing things wrong, showing up not knowing what the hell is going on. You have to get through that first. It is the worst part of learning something new, you know, is being bad at it. It's the first step to being good at something. And literally the only regret I have about my gym journey is that I didn't just get past that sooner. And I wish I could like, I can describe it to you, but I can't show you the feeling or give you that feeling. But seriously, please, for the love of God, just shut up and show up. get through that pain. Because, like, as someone with really intense anxiety, and who was like a super early transition trans guy too, so I looked really weird. I looked like a really young boy, but also kind of a girl boy thing at the same time. People didn't know how to peg me, you know what I mean. They didn't really know how to pin what I was. They didn't know what the fuck was going on. I clearly didn't know what the fuck was going on. I came home for the first few weeks of lifting shaking all over. Often, despite the fact that I was like caffeinated and overamped, I would lay in bed because I was so overstimulated and terrified. I cried quite a few times in my car. I was not confident. It sucked. But it only took a few weeks for eventually my brain and my body to realize, oh, we're still going anyways, aren't we? Eventually, just like with my really severe driving anxiety, like, your body eventually learns it's a waste of time to get stressed out doing something you do every day. And it might come back up again sometimes, but overall, it will get better. So please, just shut up and show up. Because, trust me, I was severely anxious. I did it. And obviously having going through really bad driving anxiety and getting through that was a good point of reference for me. But also, like, the gym was kind of the nail in the coffin for my driving anxiety too, forcing myself to go through that. I was able to push through the last little bits of where the only reason I can't drive wherever I want to is mostly just because my car isn't the best, so I couldn't drive across the states. I don't think my car is in a good place for that, but if my car was, I could. So, shut up and show up. Number 2, show up again. Honestly, these could be the only 2 things I say. Just show up and show up again. Boom. Oh my god. That is literally just, you want any sort of results, whether it's fat loss, it is muscle growth, it is both, it is recomp, it is toning up, it is getting strong, building basic strength. Like, okay, now show up again. Like, do whatever you need to do to show up again, even if you have to cut the workout short, even if you have to move around other things in your life, show up again. And a big piece of that is finding how many days a week is sustainable for you. Do not bite off more than you can chew. Don't tell yourself you're going to work out 5 days a week if you can realistically only do 2 to 3, and then you only show up for 1 because you feel guilty. It would be better for you to show up for just 2. Genuinely, if you will actually show up. Show up again. Every time you show up, you're going to be a little bit smarter, a little bit more in tune with your body, and you're going to learn. So, it's all about the hours you put in. Number 3, no one cares, and neither will you. Now, like I said, look up some basic gym etiquette videos and stuff like that. Obviously, like, if you're doing something new, look up how to use a certain machine or how to do a barbell movement, blah, 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 blah. There is so much information on every single thing you could ever dream of doing in a gym. Definitely look that stuff up. But seriously, and you're just gonna have to learn it over time to convince yourself, because everyone is scared of what everyone thinks in the gym when they start, except for maybe some like really self-assured guys probably don't care. But if anything, eventually you're going to realize that no one cares because you don't care either. The amount of times I see like people doing things in the gym that are generally frowned upon, and I'm like, well, they're not in my way, so I don't really care. I just kind of chuckle to myself and keep moving. And we all have days where we judge people. I am only a year into the gym, and I still do pretty shitty form on a lot of things. There's probably going to be some people in the comments correcting my form on things I do. That's fine. I'm still learning. Sure, go ahead. Critique me. I need it, honestly. But I do still, like, if I'm having a bad day and I'm feeling insecure about other areas of my life, but I'm like, oh, I'm feeling really good about this movement, and then I see someone doing it in a way that I don't agree with, I sometimes do, even me, baby ass me, is like, you aren't doing that right. I have no right to be thinking that. And I know when I feel like that, it's because I feel insecure about other things going on. And it's all about me. It's not about them. Because Lord knows that I know there's a huge variety of people in the gym. Some people don't know that they're doing something wrong. Some people are doing something within the best of their ability because they're recovering from injury or have some sort of medical condition. Some people are just doing things that technically it's agreed upon, it's maybe bad form, but they're still growing muscle. And half the people I think about that have like better muscle groups than me, so shut the fuck up. Clearly I don't know what I'm doing. But anyways, You will learn that genuinely, as long as you, and even when people care, it's typically because you're using what they need to be using next, so they're just standing around waiting, and they're judging you then. They're gonna forget about it in 30 minutes. They're gonna go have their post-workout meal. Even if you have like a spectacular fail, like you get pinned in the bench press, been there multiple times, and someone comes and helps you, like, they might like tell their partner over dinner, like, oh, there's this crazy situation, like, oh, this poor idiot got pinned. I've been there. Because I swear to God, if you train with any level of intensity, you're gonna have embarrassing situations where you bit off more than you could chew, and you learned the hard way your limits. And as long as you put your safeties on, please look up, what you should use barbell colors on, what you shouldn't use them on, how to use safeties. Learn how to push yourself. But if you train with it, if someone's out there judging you because you just like did something kind of goofy with bad form because you pushed it too far, way past failure, if they're thinking to themselves, I've never had a lift look like that, they ain't training very fucking hard, and they should bring some more. I'm just saying. Anyways, but at the end of the day, regardless of who they are, they're going to forget it in 30 minutes. Probably less than that. No one cares. It's a tiny part of their day. Number 4, this has to do with my body composition. If you're like, oh, I want to look like you, because some people have called me like shredded. I am not shredded. Oh my God, I'm lean, but I'm not shredded. But when it comes to body composition, lift to feel good and build basic strength, healthy bones, and some level of physique under the hood. Step track and portion control for aesthetics. You do have to build some level of muscle, however much you prefer, whether you want to be like a fucking meat monster or just like a small, lean, mildly muscular person. It's up to you. You do have to build the muscle to show it off, but then everything else is just revealing it. And I really think the way that I look and the way that people like the way that I look is, it really comes down to, one, my appetite genetics, which makes portion control so much easier, my general portion control, and this cheap-ass Amazon step tracker. I do between 10 to 15K steps a day at least. 10K is my bare minimum, and I did not jump into that. I started lifting first, and then I changed my diet just a little bit to be more protein focused, more healthy food focused, to learn how to cook, because I didn't really cook in general. It was not a perfectly clean diet. It still is not at all. I probably eat very different than you would assume. But I get a lot of movement in, which helps me actually be hungry enough to eat consistently, to fuel my training and also keep a constant muscle building process going. But it also shuttles more of that food to my muscles and things like that, and just keeps me moving. And honestly, the biggest benefits I saw personally was when I started training at least 3 or 4 days a week and doing between 8 and 10K steps consistently, even 6 to 8. And then just like most of the time cooking my food at home, and then also having some junk. That was I would not have been able to come off of Lexapro had I not made those lifestyle changes. Huge investment of returns. Training 4+ days a week, I just like doing it. And honestly, I stress myself out to make it happen. I just like it. It did not do a huge return. I do think it is why my strength lifts were able to progress so fast, but especially when I was just doing bodybuilding stuff, just train harder when you're training if you don't have as many days, and focused on like rest and recovery on the days you don't, eating what you need to eat. So just so you know, seriously, I think so much of what people like about my physique is actually just this step tracker, because I was like, oh, I'm such an active person. Consistently getting 10K plus steps a day is different than just like some days you have like a really high step count because you're really busy, and then other days you like have like 3K steps. You'd be surprised how inconsistent a lot of us are, and just bringing that baseline up is already going to be such a difference. And especially if you don't have like a crazy huge appetite, it can seriously make a massive difference for your body composition, just bringing everything up to like an equal level. Like, it's kind of crazy. Um, just saying. Um, number 5, the only program that's optimal is the one you fucking stick to. Listen, there is so much money to be made to sit around arguing about the perfect program, about the best exercises for this muscle group, for that muscle group. And I'm not saying to not consume that content and to not consume that info and that it doesn't have value. But especially in your first couple of years, don't take this law. It's really not that important. What is most important is, what are you actually going to show up and do? You know, if you're a type B kind of person that just likes to show up and do what the fuck ever, a super strict, rigid program probably isn't going to work for you. I'm very type A, and I love typing off little lists and stuff, so I looked up a bunch of, like, really basic ass, like, super bland, to the point, bodybuilding programs when I started lifting at home, because just so you know, I trained for a year at home to make sure that I was actually interested in consistently exercising. And I actually was really resistant to working out in the gym because I didn't want to work out around other people. I wanted to be alone and in my own space. But eventually I was interested in getting stronger, and there was only so much my 40-pound dumbbells could do. Yeah. Just brain farted. Yes. No. Seriously, like, yes, maybe look up some, like, beginner programs and stuff. But try not to get so hung up on, like, trying to do the most optimal thing. Because I went all, like, nerdy and shit and, like, really overthought all of it. But, like, genuinely, what are you going to actually show up and consistently do for however many days a week, like I said, is sustainable for you? Because at the end of the day, what do you need to do? You need to have some sort of physical resistance, whether it's your body weight or an external weight. And you need to do more than you did last time. Do more reps, do more weight, and then just keep doing that until you are satisfied with your physique, and then you can just maintain, or just keep going forever, whatever. Number 6, you do not need pre-workout to lift. You don't need a ton of caffeine to lift, and I think especially a lot of people in my age range and younger can get really reliant on really, like, a ton of caffeine, and I don't think it's wise, because you will eventually have to address your relationship with caffeine at some point if you do that. But also, especially if you're going to go in and learn really heavy compounds and stuff like that, you need some energy. But I actually find that I have less athletic awareness when I'm really over-caffeinated. And I am more likely to overshoot my first couple of reps and use way too much power output, especially if I'm doing anything above 3 reps. And I gas out at the end because I overdid it. And also, I'm just like, it's a lot more likely for me to get kind of out of the pocket and weird. So there's, like, a point of diminishing returns with caffeine where your sleep is going to be disturbed and your performance might actually go down. It might feel more fun in the moment because you're, like, balls to the wall, your blood pressure, like, through the roof, and it's fun. I still like to do it every now and then because fuck it, we ball. But I think in general, like, especially, like, whenever I have been, like, really, really nervous about especially when I was, like, the first couple times squatting and deadlifting heavy, I purposefully showed up in between my caffeine intake windows, because I normally have caffeine in the morning and then early afternoon. There were some times where I was like, I feel like I will just be more focused and less likely to hurt myself if I actually show up a little under caffeinated. And it worked, honestly. I was very calm, I was very meditative, and just in a learning headspace instead of just, like, monkey mode, because you got to learn how to do it properly before you can go, gorilla mode. I don't buy any gorilla mind stuff, just because money. And number 7, you don't need any supplements to lift. I will recommend creatine because it is highly proven and it's got benefits outside of just lifting, and it is just literally something your body makes and uses while you lift, and giving it a little bit more will help. You might get a little bloated if you take it. That's normal. Your body tends to adjust to it pretty quickly. I get naked creatine off of Amazon. It is so cheap, and I just take it every day. You do not have to take it at a certain time. I take it with my first bottle of water in the morning just to make sure it's out of the way. It does not matter. That is the one thing that I think is really valuable, and I also personally think most people should take a multivitamin just in case. so that you don't have to like find out later you're deficient in something. I started taking a multi while I was vegan. I'm no longer vegan, but I just kept up the habit. Those are the only things I take. You don't need any supplements. You really don't. Now, past a certain point, I have been interested in like pump type stuff, maybe stuff for like blood flow and things like that, as far as like different pre-workouts, especially non-stimulatory ones. But I still haven't bothered buying them because I don't have the extra money, and I work out just fine without it. Tacking onto that, a perfect diet is also not something you need. Now, a good diet, yes. A better diet than most people accept for themselves would be wise. But if you cook the majority of your meals at home, you learn what are some basic lean proteins, healthy carbs and fats that you personally like, and you just have the majority of your meals like that, you are already 8,000 steps ahead of everyone else. And if you also make sure you have some consistent level of physical activity, even if it's a lot lower than what I currently do for myself. Side note, a lot of that is actually my back, because I do a ton of axial loading with squatting and deadlifting, and walking around a ton helps me keep my back in a good, healthy state. I actually increased from like 10K to get really used to like 15K and above while I was healing a low back injury from training like an idiot. So I actually have a lot of my like super high physical activity is actually just me helping recover and restore from the way I like to train, instead of the other way around. But just some level, you're already 8,000 steps ahead. And your physique, if you keep up with it, especially for more than 3 to 4 months, if you go like 6 months to a year, you're probably going to look like a very different person, just like I do. Number 8, always check equipment and ask staff. Always check your plates, make sure you have the same amount on each side, check your barbell collars if you need barbell collars, and if you have any questions about the safety or how to set up equipment, ask staff. Google safety tips on the things that you're doing, and just always check your equipment. Just double check. I always look both ways across the street, and I always think that whenever I go to rack my barbell back squat, I'm like, and then I check both sides. We're racked, we're good. And it's all pretty common sense, but and like I said, ask the staff if you have any questions. And number 9, befriend the staff. Why not? And maybe not be like close friends with them, but like genuinely, like, especially being someone who works in retail and has to be around people all day, and I don't want to be. If the gym is going to be like a place that I like to be, I would like to have a good atmosphere there. And whenever I show up and I say hi and I wave, and then I leave and I say, hey, have a good day to the person who's working on the front desk, I freaking mean it, because that place has become like my temple, and the people who work there mean a lot to me because they keep it clean. They are there if I have any questions or needs, and it just means a lot. So you don't have to be buddies with them, but like maybe not like befriend them, but appreciate them, damn it, because I said. Okay. Number 10, learn to compare good to good and bad to bad. And this is going to come further on when you're really trying to progress your lifts. You've already figured out the kind of lifting you're doing, and regardless of whether it's bodybuilding pump work or heavy strength lifting, you're going to have good days and you're going to have bad days. And eventually, especially if you are someone who's very self-competitive and you care a lot about what you're doing, awesome, that's good for the gym. But you're gonna get in your own way. Sometimes you're gonna get in your own head, especially if you're perfectionistic like I am. It's good to learn. Like I said, like, you have just a day where you do not feel strong at all, and you do not hit the numbers that you thought that you could. To compare that to your most recent shitty day is a much better use of your time than comparing it to like yesterday when you went to balls to the wall and you had a great day, you had good sleep, you had a little bit of extra food, your coffee hit so good, like you're just feeling it, and maybe you went too hard yesterday and that's why you fucking suck today. Or you had something personal going on. Learn to compare the good to good and the bad to the bad, but also don't assume. Don't assume you know how a workout's gonna go, because I can't tell you how many times I've been like, I'm about to shit the bed. I'm gonna shit the bed this whole workout, and then it's despite everything going on in my life, despite how exhausted I am from work, I'm coming to the gym after work, I'm dead beat, I was lifting shit at work all day, I feel depleted, I feel like I don't have faith in myself. PR. Like, you cannot. And there have been plenty of days where I've showed up carved the fuck up. I ate so much food. I feel so strong. Shit the bed. You can't sometimes, but most of the time, here's the deal. Especially once you have built a solid base of muscle, you show up and you do what's on paper and you follow, you don't just throw 20 extra pounds on something for the hell of it. You're just following basic progression. You show up, you'll be able to do it. It might not be the best form, it might feel like shit. But typically, no matter what's going on in your life, once your body builds that base of muscle, if you show up and do the work, you will get returns. And there might be some days where your performance falls off a little bit, but it really starts to become pretty consistent as your body learns what it's doing and as you learn what you're doing, just so you know. But do your best to not be horrible to yourself on a bad day and learn better ways to compare, Okay, number 11, learn to make the gym your ritual. If you really, really want to achieve a physique or a level of strength that is kind of outside of the norm, if you don't want to, fuck it. The gym is just where you go when you have time to be a healthy adult. Fuck yeah. Absolutely. Go for it. But if you want to push yourself a little bit further, closer to what your genetic potential is, the gym is going to have to become your ritual. It's your temple. It's where you go to heal, to learn things about yourself, to meditate on life, to prove to yourself that you can do more than you thought. And that's gonna look different for everyone, but genuinely sometimes I'm like, this is like church for me, ain't it? This is church. And if you also go to church, good for you. You got two churches now. Congrats. That's a personal thing that everyone will have to figure out for themselves, and you'll figure out what it means for you. And number 12, always be willing to learn and admit when you're wrong. And that's really easy in the beginning to be like, I don't know what's going on, I'm probably doing everything wrong. But sometimes even just within a few months, you're like, no, I got this. The best thing you can do is to keep that mind open. No matter how many hours you've spent researching a specific thing, whether it's like your diet model or the specific form of training progression that you're doing, always be willing to learn. And those are 12 super valuable things that have kept me flexible, open, and growing in the gym consistently, no matter what's going on in my life. There are times where things slow down because I have shit going on, and there are times where I'm just blasting through previous ruts. And it's just like everything else in life. But it's been a beautiful first year. And the cool thing about it is once you get past those first couple of awkward months, even if you already were training and built some muscle like I did outside of the gym, your first year in the gym is still going to be insane as far as the level of growth you will have. Newbie gains are fucking magical. They are so cool, and I think I'm still honestly in that stage. And it is super awesome. So that is another thing about me saying shut up and show up, because as soon as you get past that really scared, awkward phase and you start feeling a little more comfortable, you're going to get to enjoy the fact that your body is going to blow the fuck up, especially if you aren't, because I was training 5 days a week at home, bodybuilding style training, to failure with like everything. I got very used to and very comfortable with training super close to failure, which I do think is part of my results that I got even before I went into the gym. So my body had basic muscle, but I still blew the fuck up once I had a gym with access to different things where I could hit my muscles differently. So go fucking enjoy your newbie gains, damn it. I know you're scared to show up at the gym, but motherfucker, you're gonna have such a good time and you're gonna get so jacked so fast, because especially if you aren't training. Your body is probably artificially under-muscled unless you're working a manual labor job. Your body wants to be carrying more muscle than it is for metabolic health, for basic functioning, for basic strength, for daily tasks. It wants to build muscle so bad. You could honestly probably eat like fucking shit for your first year and still get pretty kind of jacked, as long as you don't just like totally starve yourself. I'm not recommending that, but like seriously, your body wants muscle, so just do it with love and affection, because I want you to be like super confident and an absolute baddie. Shut the fuck up and do it. Okay, I have a bonus one, and that is number 13. And this is just like, take this with a grain of salt, because yes, I want you to look up how to do things before you go do them. I want you to do your research and see what people are saying in the science lifting community and stuff these days. But low-key, high-key, number 13, it's okay to be wrong. It's honestly, it's okay to lift wrong. Because here's the deal, are you actually showing up and lifting consistently? Maybe you're not like quite squatting to depth. Maybe your like bicep curls are really horribly cheated and overloaded. And maybe, yeah, technically you should take the weight down and let go of some ego. Are you still actually showing up and progressing week to week? You're probably gonna fucking build muscle anyways. As long as there's not like some egregious, like incredibly obviously unsafe thing about what you're doing. Like I said, are you actually still showing up every week for more than a few months? That's already ahead of most people. So just to say, always be willing to learn and always be willing to admit when you're wrong, but also don't freak out if you find out that you've been doing really shitty form with something for a while. Because that happens to me, I don't know, all the time, and then I'm like, damn, I still grew a lot though. Imagine how jacked I'll be when I actually fucking do things right. I'm not actually saying I'm really that jacked. I am 5'5" and not that big, so it's just photos and lighting mostly. But I have come a long way from being like a really sad, skinny, anorexic person, and then someone who gained the body fat but almost no muscle. So I was just kind of like this soft, squishy, still pretty small person with like no muscle tone because I lost all of it during my relapse. Yeah, so that to here is pretty big transformation. And what was the recipe? Number 1, show up. Number 2, show up again. Those are the only 2 things that matter, because everything else, you're gonna figure it out. You are gonna figure out when you're fucking shit up. You're gonna figure out when you're biting off more than you can chew, or not challenging yourself hard enough and getting stagnant. You'll figure it out simply by showing up, and then showing up again. So those are the 12 things I learned. Cool. Okay, so now for the training recap. I will tell you the totals I hit on my compound lifts, and before I do that, I am going to mention my body weight, so you know my sort of body weight ratio, if you care about that sort of thing. I'm never going to compete or anything like that, especially as a trans person. Hell no, I'm not touching sports with a fucking 10-foot pole. No thanks, I'm good. I just train for funsies, but it is cool to even be a little kind of almost starting to get strong for my height and my size, because I thought it would never get here when I showed up and like put like 95 pounds on the barbell max squat and fought for my life to do anything with it at all. I never thought I would be here. So but I'm going to hold my hands up while I mention my current body weight range, because it is a range, and then I will bring them back down when I am done talking about that. So you can skip it if you'd like. But my current body weight, I'm 5'5", and I weigh anywhere between 132.6 to like 134.8. I thought that I was successfully gaining up to being consistently between 133 and 134 the morning that I deadlifted 315. What was it, 2 weeks ago? Last week, I weighed in at 132.6 again, which was my weight before I went on vacation, and I thought I had gained above it, but I don't know, whatever. Anyways, fluctuations are a thing, especially when you drink as much water as I do, when you eat as much food as I do. I consume a lot and I move a lot, which means my body's kind of in a constant flux. But even that's actually, I say that, but that's actually kind of a small range to move up and down between. Some people move up a lot more, especially if they do take things like creatine. But that is what I'm currently at. And I've been higher than that when I first bulked up, like bodybuilding style training at home, and I have been leaner than that while I was strength training as well. Right now, this is kind of just a happy, comfortable medium, and I have wanted to bulk. I meant to bulk over the winter. I did not manage to because I got COVID-19 and then that really horrible influenza A strain that was going around like 4 weeks later. So I probably will eventually do another bulk in the future, even if it's just like a slow, lean one. Probably, knowing me, that is easier for me to manage with my eating disorder history. But it's hard either way, and it's always like, I don't know, it helps. It helps to bulk a little bit every now and then, you know. Humble you a little bit. Because the ab veins that I got made me, you know, a little vain. A little overconfident. But yes, my lifts, I was so determined to hit 225 barbell back squat and 315 pound deadlift, and I succeeded. I only hit 225 back squat once that week because I was feeling pretty tired and fried at that point because I did a lot of volume work to build up to that. And I really wanted to hit 225 for a set of 5, and I probably could have, but the day that I did it, I did a set of 3, and then I hit the rack on the way up, and it scared the shit out of me, and I kind of wobbled, and then I racked it, and I was like, I'm scared, and then I was able to do 2 sets of 4 after that. So I normally squat twice a week, but that week I decided to just take the win, because I knew only a couple days later I was going to be pulling 315. 315, I was able to pull 2 solid singles with hook grip, which is lucky because I was a bit out of practice with hook grip because I really just started using deadlift straps a lot more to push my deadlift up and not have to worry about my grip being a limiting factor, especially because there's quite a bit of grip stuff that I do the day before I deadlift typically with my schedule, and sometimes unfortunately my grip's a little tired from the day before. So I wanted to completely pull that factor out and be able to really push my deadlift. And that 315 deadlift was actually the first time I let myself increase more than 10 pounds on literally anything I've ever done, because I did 295 previously. And I told myself the week before if I got even a single set of 4 with 295, that I was allowed to skip 305 and do 315. And I got 2 sets of 4 and a set of 3, I think. And then I did back off sets with a lighter weight for sets of like 8. And yeah, so I pulled 315 and then I pulled again and then I put on straps and I was able to get a fucking double. And it was definitely a bit of a grinder. I will say, I have pretty good deadlift technique, typically. I was getting a little out of the pocket on those. I know I was. I look at the footage and I'm like, that bar coming a little bit forward. But I made it work and didn't hurt myself. That was my main thing, is I was like, oh, my first, like, 2-plate squat and my first 3-plate deadlift, please don't fucking hurt your back again, because I hurt my back only a couple months ago. Everything turned out fine. Yay. So, I did that. Bench press. I did 155 pounds for a couple of triples. I think, how many triples did I do? I know my bench, first off, I don't even do good form. I don't pause long enough. I know I don't. I'm working on it. My bench is not great. It is better than it used to be, but bench pressing, literally, I found overhead pressing so fun, and I got so passionate about that. But I struggled with bench pressing at the same time so much that there was a point in time where I was almost overhead pressing as much as I was benching. Which, if you don't know, you're supposed to be able to bench way more because you're stable and flat. Anyways, so okay. Oh, I did 2 sets of 3, 2 doubles, and there was another double that I did where I went for 3 and I didn't quite get it. I think didn't I do 155 2 months in a row though? I've had quite a few months where I didn't even manage to put any weight on my bench press, I'm not gonna lie. So I've never done a 1 rep max on bench. So I did some triples and doubles with 155. Now, going forward, I previously only benched 2 days a week because I also overhead pressed twice a week. Overhead pressing, I've hurt my back multiple times, overhead pressing specifically, and I just feel like I've balls to the wall trained it for long enough that I think even just mentally, just even taking a little bit of a break from it, just like doing it once a week and maybe some seated shoulder work on another day. And I'm going to switch out so that I'm now benching 3 days a week, because benching really does benefit from higher volume, and I don't think I'm going to be any decent at benching until I give it more hours. So that is the plan going forward. And then with overhead press, I got some singles with 105 pounds. I don't think I've ever done a double with 105. That was another thing where I was pushing squat and deadlift so hard. Last month, I'm pretty sure last month, 155 was also my heaviest weight that I lifted for bench, and 105 was definitely the previous heaviest weight that I lifted. Let's see. Hello? No, I did add 5 pounds to my bench. Cool, okay. So I did add some weight, but not to overhead press. And that was purposeful as well, because I was like, I'm pushing squatting and deadlifting so hard, I do not want to risk hurting my low back getting out of the pocket, strict pressing. So I did some singles with 105, and that's the best I have to write home about. Everything else, I do not just do those things. For example, I originally filmed like a whole like peak week like training vlog where I like went over each workout, but I'm super over caffeinated and rambly when I'm on my way to the gym, and then just depleted and out of it when I get back from the gym. So it was just a lot of footage of me being very difficult to follow, more so than normal, but sorry, I had to just scrap all that. Also, I was filming the shoe thing at the same time, and I just ran out of room on my phone too, mostly because I was rambling so much. But yeah, I do lots of other stuff. For example, on my squat days, I squat focused. I start off squatting, and then I do Romanian deadlifts, which is also a pretty heavy compound. Something you want plenty of brain space to make sure that you have good form with. And then I go into isolations, hamstring curls, leg press, calf raises. Bench focus day, I start off with bench pressing. I do bicep curls after that, so I'm still pretty fresh and can give my biceps a lot of aggression and love. And then I do wide grip pull downs, some dumbbell chest focused isolation work with chest press and flies, and then some dumbbell like heavy bent over rows. I essentially train my back almost every day, which is probably why my back transformed so much. Yes, that is how it went. So I was so fucking elated to hit the 225 squat. I really wanted to like jump around and be annoying. Finally, I did not have the energy after the squatting because it was so intense and scary. I did not manage to like get all hype after that, but I did scream after that first successful 315 deadlift pull. I was like, yes, fuck. And I'm pretty sure, especially like with my makeup and my outfit and everything, people were probably just like, oh, no, fine. They don't care. There are plenty of people that yell and do all sorts of that stuff at the gym I go to. I purposefully chose a gym like that was really hype, for a reason. I knew eventually I wanted to be like that too. It was the first time I ever let myself like cry out in victory, and it was really awesome. So much fun, honestly. I love deadlifting so much. It giveth and it taketh away, for sure, but I love it. And yeah, I was even like really proud of like the bench pressing and how it went, even though like, you know, looking back on the footage, I'm like, damn, that's still like really not a lot of weight and not the best form, but it's a work in progress. Yeah. So let's look at the first training session I ever wrote down in this. The first one. Is it Tuesday the 6th? I could have sworn I wrote in it sooner. I was already going to the gym. I started in the gym at the end of July. It looks like Tuesday, August 6th is the first one I ever wrote down. So I did squats for 125 pounds. Oh, I was already doing 125. That's not terrible. I got 2 reps, two sets of 5 and 2 sets of 6. I did Romanian deadlifts for 125 pounds, between 12 and 14 reps. Oh, I was still doing dumbbell lunges. With the 40 pounds. Calf raises, 100 pounds. Why did I do bicep curls after? It doesn't matter. Sure, my arms definitely weren't tired. Well, they might have been tired from the lunges. What was I doing? Anyways, so that was a squat workout on August 6th of last year versus my peak week. This last one, I did 225-pound squats, a set of 3, 2 sets of 4, and then I did 195 pounds for 2 sets of 8, which is why I think I probably had a set of 5 squats in me with 225, because your 1 RM calculation, which they aren't 100% correct, especially when you're kind of a novice like me, a full set of 8 is a higher estimated 1 RM than a set of 4 with 225. Especially considering my second set of 8 with 195, I was getting mad because one of my plates was like kind of scraping against the safeties and pissing me off, and I literally like readjusted with like 2 reps left to go and then kept going, which granted I have a really good motor when it comes to things like higher rep squats and stuff. I have good work capacity, but still it's just kind of like, I'm pretty sure you had a set of 5 if you just believed in yourself. And then I did Romanian deadlifts for 175, so I've only put on like 50 pounds on that. But I've also hurt my back, my low back, so many times to the point where I've had to like not train RDLs for just a little bit until it was in a better place. Yeah, my RDLs should be higher than they are, but that's where they're at. 175 for sets of like 13 to 15. Hamstring curls, 100 pounds. Not the best form, I will be the first to say, but I was like, I can't keep doing the super high rep stuff with the 90 pound. I also don't think it's actually 90 pounds, because the plates get bigger and then they stop having numbers on them, so I don't actually know how much I'm doing. I just write down what I think it is. And then leg press 400 pounds. Oh my god, I'm finally leg pressing 400 pounds, which has been fun. I did a set of 10, set of 9, 8, 8. I should probably honestly be leg pressing more considering how much I deadlift, but I've just been trying to challenge myself slowly more and more with that, because I was just excited to do 360 to have the equal plates and everything, but now we all fell hunted. Calf raises. I do 280. I only have one more pin to go before I max out the standing calf raise machine. And I genuinely think this goes back to, the shut up and show up thing. I just always train my calves when I train my legs. I've never skipped calves. I think I might have once when I was like super busy. But even when I tell myself, oh my god, I don't have time, it's just a few minutes because I just superset. Like I do, like right now, the working weight's 280 and I do sets of close to 30. And then I do a bunch of like air ones off to the side to keep pumping even more blood into them. And it's paid off. I got calves now. Especially being someone who walks as much as I do. It's hard to grow calves when you're moving your legs all the time. But that's wild. So that's a comparison of a year where like I look very different and some of the weights I'm moving look very different. But also at the same time, like It's also not that crazy. You know, there's only like 50-pound difference on my RELs. 125 to 225 back squat. It's only 100 pounds. So, you know, it's a lot of good work, but also it's very achievable. Very achievable. Of course, the usual disclaimer that, like, I have a very rigid personality that was once applied to, like, anorexia, which has brain patterns that are very useful in the gym. There's a reason there's a pipeline like that. Even if it doesn't turn into another form of an eating disorder, a lot of times it can just turn into a better outlet, where you're building something instead of destroying it. It being your body. So there's that, and there's also the fact that I do take testosterone for my gender transition, but I do not take abnormal amounts at all. I take 100 milligrams a week, and I have for years now. So just normal amounts. My testosterone is probably like kind of slightly higher. I feel like it might be a little bit higher than average, but nothing too crazy. But having that continuous external introduction of hormones to keep my hormones steady and level, even when I'm training super hard or not eating the best, does matter. It does matter, and it makes a difference. It means that it probably is also why I can get away with eating the way that I do, because if you're wondering, my general food pattern is like high carb, moderate protein, and quite low fat. Probably lower fat than I would recommend for most people, especially if you are assigned female at birth and you aren't on testosterone or something like that. If you just have normal hormone patterns, it's going to be way better for your health to make sure you eat enough fats. But I have external hormones, and I have also accepted trade-offs with this really low fat diet, in that, one, a lot of things that you can just pick up and grab and eat, I can't, but I don't mind because I have my own alternative options that I enjoy. And two, my skin and hair aren't as good as they could be, and probably also to some degree, like, my sleep and stuff like that would probably be a little better if I increased my fat intake a little bit. But it's just a trade-off I'm willing to make, because all the extra carbs and stuff give me tons of energy to train, tons of energy to run around, to get a ton of steps in, and keeps my muscles really full of glycogen, whereas having that lower fat also means that I still stay in a calorie balance where I can kind of stay in a weight range that I like. So, yeah. Is there anything else? No. If you have any questions, feel free to ask me. And, well, I'm tired now. That's a lot of talking. Yeah. Here's a little physique thing, I guess. I will insert, obviously, like, I'm deloading this week, so I'm not even, like, very pumped up or anything. So this is me just kind of in chill mode, and also mildly sunburned mode. But, yeah. Here is the legs. Obviously, most of my training has been leg focused lately. I'm starting to get some nice knee boobs. Fuck yeah. Someone called it my recent quad growth knee cleavage. And then someone else was like, kneevage. And I'm just obsessed with it. I'm the proud owner of knee boobs now. Yeah. I'm not the best at, like, leg showing off anymore, because so often I'm just like, hey. Even on squat days, I'll go and take upper body pump pics. But yeah. I'm so buff. Not really. But I'm not bad, you know. It's not bad for my height and everything. But, yeah. I'll insert much better photos and footage because I'm not feeling super confident today. Not for any reason, I'm just tired. But, yeah. Go pick up heavy shit. It's good for you. You don't have to do it as many days a week as I do. You don't have to be crazy about it like I do. But if you can make time for it, I would encourage you to. It will really change your life as far as even just like how you interact with other people. Like even just building a basic amount of muscle, it pulls your shoulders back. You kind of like don't do this as much when you talk to people anymore. It kind of forces you into a more confident posture. It's hard for dumb little things to bother you when you put hundreds of pounds on your back and prove to yourself what you can do. Genuinely, it's hard for dumb little shit to get you down after a really hard leg day, especially. So, you know, go build yourself up emotionally as well as physically, if you can. If you can't, I get it. The world is falling apart, and silly little things like gym time sometimes feel pointless with how bad things are in the world right now. But it is just something that I can do to keep me sane in the meantime. So, if you want to do that, you can do it too, but also I understand if not. Good luck either way.
Spent all my life holding all of it closely. I played it innocent, a feel of discontent. I'm finally facing it all, fearless. Burning the bridge that keeps us. I'm here and I'm feeling